excited for the opportunity to be here. So let's go ahead and just get started in the few moments that we have left. So 11, the number 11, is the number of decisions that we make about somebody in the first 7 seconds that we meet them, right? So now that we've had about 7 seconds for you to meet me, I'm assuming that, if I did a survey in the room, I'm thinking that it'll probably be tall, dark, and handsome, maybe. Right? But if that's not the case, if any of you all saw me in the gym earlier, you probably would replace handsome with really out of shape, right? So, needless to say, let's go ahead and tell you a little bit about who I am, why I'm here. Like Jeff mentioned, really my journey to this stage started a few years ago. Just like many of you, I was an HR professional. I came to LinkedIn. It was the Talent Connect San Francisco. I came here wanting to impact my organization, wanting to do something different. I came here hoping to get some information that would change the course of my career. And I'm excited to say that it really played a huge part in everything I've been able to accomplish. But one session that I attended was with Lars Smith, with JT O'Donnell, and Jennifer McClure was talking all about employee branding and how employee branding, the impact that it has on development and retention. And of course, it really resonated with me, right? Because one of the things that JT O'Donnell said that I've never forgotten, she said is brand or be branded. And that's something that took me 2 years ago and have continued to move forward with that since then. Because as HR professionals, it's our job, like Francis mentioned, to really make sure that we solidify our brand. So I took that brand or be branded. So I went from there. I was so excited, I was pumped up, and I tried to take advantage of all the enthusiasm that I had, and I started making my plan. I started dreaming as if I had unlimited resources, as if nobody would tell me no, as if I had, unlimited budget, as if I had control and I could change anything that I wanted to change. I started to think about that. All the processes on what I would change if I had the opportunity, I began to think of those things, and those are some of the things that I'll talk to you today. But so one of the things that I did learn, though, in the planning stage is that it's really good to kind of get out there, outside the box, like Franz mentioned, because it's always easier to scale it back, if need be. So I did all my planning. I was so excited, and then once I was done, I was ready to head back to Houston. And when I got to Houston, I was really shocked that in the 3 days that I was gone, that my organization still had a very reactive recruiting model. They didn't fix that while I was gone. They didn't fix the fact that we had limited resources, limited people resources. And the main thing is that nobody fixed this is the way that we've always done it mentality that we had. And I'm pretty sure none of y'all can relate, to that at all. So as you can see how excited I was, and coming back to that and realizing the obstacles that I would have to overcome, it could be really deflating, right? Really deflated. But one of the things that when I went through a transition in my career, I read a book that really changed the course of my career, which is 48 Days to the Work You Love. And so what is a presentation without a great story, right? And so in that book, it talks about an old dog that's laying on a porch. On the porch with him is the dog's owner, also the dog's owner's friend. The dog's owner and the friend are in a deep conversation with each other. And every 30 seconds or so, the dog would let out a really loud yelp. And so they would still continue the conversation, but after a few moments passed, the dog continuously let out a yelp. And then the friend said to the dog's owner, "Hey man, what's wrong with your dog?" He said, "Well, that's his favorite spot on the porch, but now there's a rusted nail that's in that spot, so anytime he really gets comfortable, he feels that rusted nail, and it makes him let out that yelp." And the friend thought about that and said, "Well, it's really strange. Why doesn't he just move?" And their friend said, "You know what? Maybe it just doesn't hurt bad enough yet." And one of the things that really resonated, because of what the book talks about, is the ability of having to get off the nail. And what I mean by getting off the nail is that many times it's, whether it's been myself or you as an HR professional, there's times where we know we need to do something, but we just don't know how to go about doing it. Or sometimes we have, maybe that could be an executive that, this is the way we've always done it, and they're very accustomed with the manner that they've been going about doing business. And it's our job as HR professionals to help get them off the nail. Because truly, are you truly a professional of change management if you can't influence change? And what's change if it's not constructive? Right? So I don't have time today to kind of go into all the things that was done, that's necessarily done to get everyone off the nail, but I'm thankful that I had executives that I was working with who were supportive of this initiative to kind of move forward. So today what I want to talk to you about is obviously in the few moments that we have here, is that obviously an ounce of insight is worth a pound of power. So I took all that information and we started to move forward. So one of the things that I did first, this is where I started. Because if you want change that matters, you have to change what matters. So I thought of the top 4 things that I had to change in order to help with our development and our retention of millennial talent. So where I started first, overhauling and streamlining our onboarding process. Onboarding is more than just the 2 weeks prior to someone starting with the organization. It's more than just background check, reference checks, and drug testing. So we did a complete overhaul, and I'll talk about that in just a few moments. Next, we reviewed the results of our engagement surveys, and then we also looked at over the data for the last 3 years of turnover. So again, about reviewing the results of our engagement survey, again, when I said if you want change that matters, you have to change what matters. And we all read those engagement surveys, and it's important for us as HR professionals that we do something about it. But one of the things that I believe really helped our organization from a strategic standpoint is with the turnover data. So I took all the employees for the last 3 years. We looked at the reasons why they left, but I took it a step further. So employee A, he left. And so what we do is we take employee A, then we go back and we look them up on social media, on LinkedIn, and find out, well, okay, they left at this title, what are they doing now, and how does that relate? Right? And then I would compare that to an employee that we had that started at the same time as them, and what level of position are they in? And seeing if there's any type of discrepancies. And what I was figuring out is that a lot of organizations and people are leaving because of developmental opportunities. And that the same person who started with us 3 years ago is in a much more advanced role 3 years from now than the person who is still currently working there. And I realize that there's opportunities for us to really get involved from a developmental standpoint. Revamp college recruiting. I've been here for all day, and people have been talking about college recruiting and how long their lines are, but that was never my story. Right? People didn't, when you go to college recruiting, the students at the campus, they didn't know who we are. I didn't have the booth with the line all the way down the corner. I was always the booth next to the company. They had the line all the way down the corner, right? I don't know if y'all can relate to that, but like their line is so long that, the kids in front of you, they feel obligated to talk to you because they're right there blocking your booth. I'm like, and they don't want to make eye contact with you. Like, I know you see me. I work for a great organization. I don't know if y'all can relate, but I knew we had to revamp our college recruiting, and I'll tell you a little bit about some of the things we did that were easy to apply, that made quick change, and we saw an ROI very quickly. And also, we put more structure around our internship program, right? So I told you about our college recruiting, and our internship program was probably a little bit worse than that. It was really just an opportunity for us to pay the executives' kids for the entire summer, right? I know y'all can't relate to that either. If you're executive here, just keep your head down, look forward, it's all going to be good. But we put some structure around there, and one of the things that we did that would help is development and constant conversations around their performance. Annual reviews is not going to be enough. That's not enough conversation. So you have to make sure that you're having constant conversation around what's important to them. Ask the tough questions. Saying, well, what are the tough questions? As HR professionals, we're always accustomed as talent acquisition professionals. We always engage and we interview candidates, and we always ask them, why should we hire you? Why are you the best candidate? But have you ever taken a step? And one of the things that I did when we were establishing value was ask myself, is my company that appealing? See, I manage a team, and over 70% of my team are millennials, of the recruiting team that I have. And one of the things that I encourage them to ask every single hiring manager when they go and they have these meetings with them, and when we're looking to hire, is ask them, why would someone want this job? And sometimes they look at you kind of crazy, like, what do you mean? They want this job because, X, Y, Z. But no, really ask them, why would someone want this job? What type of investment are you going to make in this person's, career? If you know that we're looking for millennial talent, you know that development and all these things are very important, what role are you going to play in the process? So ask them tough questions to make sure that they are aware and that they are committed to the value, right? So we talked about value and how important it is to establish value first. And value is implemented through engagement, and we know how important engagement is. So we talked about interactive and collaborative onboarding. So one of the first things that we changed is that we made our onboarding experience a collaborative process, not just something that HR handled, but there's a role that HR played, there's a role that the business partners played, there's a role that the hiring manager played, there's also a role that our mentors played in the process. So we established different touch points throughout the year for us to, not throughout the year, but throughout the onboarding process to engage with the talent that is coming through the door. But also we extended our onboarding from being just a process that we do at the beginning for the first 2 weeks to extending it throughout the year and establishing different touch points throughout the entire year of their time with our organization. So that really helped making sure that they were engaged with us. New employee orientation, right? Everyone hates new employee orientation. But new employee orientation is more than just forms and watching videos. So some of the things that we did was if we knew we were hiring a group of interns or hiring a group of fresh college grads, we would get the last crew that we just hired, have them come out and tell success stories. We'd have other people come out who've been with the organization for quite some time. We'd have the members of the community to come out to talk about the experiences that they have and kind of the involvement that we have and things that we're doing within the community. And really, what the thing is that we know, like I said earlier, about the amount of decisions that people are making the first time you meet them. That's the same thing that your millennial talent is doing. They are looking at you, they are judging, wanting to make sure that they make the right decisions. So making sure that we make those experiences something that they'll never forget. Assigning a mentor, we know how important that is. And so studies show that if you assign a mentor, that they will, that your millennial talent will stick around a lot longer, especially if the mentor is good, right? Conversations about developmental planning and career progression. I've already stated this, and you all know how important it is. Just constant conversation. It can't just be, back to annual reviews when you talk about performance, when you talk about a developmental plan, for your employees. So it's really important. Leadership courses. This is very big, and this is one of the things that really transformed our organization. And these things don't take a lot of time to implement. These things don't take a lot of money or resources because that's one of the things I never was really afforded to in the organizations that I was working for. But with the amount of individuals we have retiring, couple that with the amount of millennials that are coming into your organization, it's important that they are ready. It's important that they're ready. So you would need to invest the time in ensuring that this next group is ready for the next leadership opportunity, because you cannot address that knowledge gap that is walking out the door constantly every day. So that by making sure they're prepared, this is the best way of ensuring that they're fully engaged. Rotational programs. One of the things we implement is kind of allow them to get exposure to all the different areas. One of the things that I always would tell interns and also new talent coming to the door is that my job is to make sure that you know what you want to do, but more importantly, I want you to know what you don't want to do. That way we're not wasting anybody's time. So with the rotation program, it's a good exposure to all the different areas of your company. It's a great way to keep your millennial talent engaged. Creating an employee group for young professionals. Very simple to do. All millennials, the greatest thing about this is that you're giving them a platform and you're giving them a voice. Especially if you have high potential employees, this is the greatest way that does not really cost much to you can put some structure around the event, the topics they talk about, but you can also, use this as a great development opportunity. But this is a great way, to give them a voice and give them an opportunity to share about the things that they've experienced and things that they'd like to see. And again, just giving them a platform. Community involvement, which goes back to purpose and making sure that it's bigger than just the perks, but making sure they're involved, right? So that's engagement, right? And our engagement is measured through our analytics. We've heard a lot about it. There's other sessions that are about analytics, but analytics is so huge because with analytics, you start tracking everything because data will tell you everything you need to know. I always say that people lie, numbers never lie, unless you work at Wells Fargo, apparently. Hopefully nobody If anybody was he works at Wells Fargo, I'm sorry. No, but it's great information. Analytics tells you everything that you need to know on the success of the program. So it's really important that you track analytics in every single area. So you're saying, okay, how do you assess or what do you assess? So these are just some of the few things that we assessed when we were going through this phase. We had a new hire meet and greet. So what that was, just at 90 days of employment, we invite all of our new hires. We'd invite our executive team, our CEO would come out, we'd talk to them. We'd talk about the entire onboarding experience. We'd talk about the recruiting experience. We'd talk about how their training and development has been. And we'd use all that data to find out how good of a job we are doing. We'd also review and share blog entries. The best way to identify your blind spots either for you as a professional or for your organization, is to have your talent blog. This is something that we require our interns to do. It's something that we also allow that our seasoned employees and also our new employees to do, to blog about their experiences. So we have a lot of issues with employees not being fully functional day one. Our onboarding process, we identified a gap, and I've been saying it till I was blue in the face. But once we had the interns blogging about their experience, they identified saying, hey, you know, I was at my desk, but I couldn't do this, and I wasn't able to do this, then that really got the leadership team to move and address the issues that we're having. Tracking hires and sources for common trends. Again, it's all about analytics. So I talked about college recruiting. One of the things that we did is we looked at the people that we were hiring. We found out the top talent, what universities did they go to. We went further than that, and we drilled down to find out what courses and what majors do they have. Went down a little bit further to find out what courses they're actually taking at those universities. And so instead of going to the campus to recruit at a college affair, which we always did, we found out the actual course that people were taking that resonated and correlated well with successful performance in our organization. And we began to be guest lecturers in that class. And what that helped is that it helped me and it helped my team to offset the fact that we don't have a large brand recognition, that people don't know about us. And so that the people are not going to know, if you say our name, they're not going to know exactly who we are or what we do. But this is a great way that we knew and we established those relationships. And that way the professor was sending us his top 4 or 5 candidates. We were already completely engaged with them prior to the event. So it's our way of recruiting there. And that's the way to kind of offset. If you work for an organization that doesn't have a lot of brand recognition, I encourage you to get involved on campus and track these type of analytics, and you can find some really strategic ways to move forward. Build versus buy ratio, we all know that term. I think there's a proper place for having a solid buy ratio, but the build ratio will tell you everything you need to know from a developmental standpoint, kind of where you are. And that's something that we really, really track to see the development of our millennial talent. Right? So strategy. So we talked about analytics, and analytics gives you everything that you need to do to set up your strategy to help you develop and retain your millennial talent. This slide is intentionally left blank because historically HRs, we like to say that we're strategic, but historically we have not been a strategic function. We just like to say that word because it makes us feel good. But that's okay. So one of the things that I realized, about strategy and about HR is that we have to realize is that all this information, we set up the value, we do handle the engagement, we take care to get all the data, but we must act. And the thing about HR and HR professionals is that historically, we are the last ones to show up to any party, and when we get to the party, we're never prepared for the party, right? You think about social media. Social media exploded with Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, all Glassdoor and all these things, and we're still just now warming up to the idea of social media. While our employees are already talking about it, they're already talking about our organization on it. So this slide right here, this picture, it shows me kind of what I think about HR. We're kind of there, but we're not all the way there yet. Because we're still trying to figure out what we need to do, how we need to go about doing it. But we need to really work on becoming more strategic. And if you really take the time to set up the value, if you take the time to take care of the engagement, if you take the time to do the analytics and the data, this will really, really help you with setting up the strategy so that way you'll be ready to move when it's time to move, right? So in conclusion, that I want to talk just real briefly. So we talked about value and the importance of setting up value. We said that value is implemented through engagement. And we said that engagement is tracked through assessments or analytics. And our analytics should set up our strategy. But none of that matters unless we first what? Get off the net. So we have the saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I hope what happens in Vegas that you take back to your employer, to your city. My name is Raymond Stewart. Thank you for your attention.
One more round of applause for both Franz and Raymond. Show of hands, who thought coming through the door today when we were talking about periods and adult diapers?